certainly frustrating at times if you're watching their game last week, even against the behemoths of Team Envy, where the team kind of just let a lot of unforced errors come through. And as they roll out of spawn with Boger on the Hammond and that DPS composition online, XL2 running, a similar comp, we would hope to see, that communication come through, because every single one of these individual members very squishy on both sides.
Yep, speedily going to be playing today for XL2 Academy as well. And so they've got some additions here. Boger did play last week with second generation, has some experience in Contenders, playing in Trials EU before coming over to NA with second generation. Now the point is open. They're going to go ahead and see each other. Akawa is taking a little bit of damage to start things off. We do see a hack go off, and the point was already capped by XL2 Academy. Sox, though, going to get that first kill, so second generation are not out of this just yet, but with that evening up, and it's a 5v5, and I like the way that XL2 is going to be using that defensive position on the objective, but when they do leave it because of that EMP, second generation are going to have to try their best to stay alive, and that they do. Kirby, though, is going to get that kill on to Eclipse in XL2 Academy, because second generation engaged once more, even after losing that first member. It was a 5v5, have been able to accrue almost 30%.
Yeah, and it's going to be more before second generation can look at a point flip, as they're all going to go back to spawn and wholesale swap onto that Sombra Goats composition. So giving up all of that previous ult charge, but not a terrible move from second gen. Goats is a lot more consistent, but XL2 Academy are still in the process of burning through the ultimates that they've already worked through. So second generation might be looking at, 70% going their opponent's way before they can have a good chance with those tank ultimates up.
Exactly. HamTornado. Second generation, though, going to get a pick, and that's what you need if you want to come from behind in terms of that ultimate advantage, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're not going to let the numbers go against them this time around. They do have a 5v4. They have not secured this. Haku did use that nano, but XL2 Academy also running out of options. If Kirby's able to get to rally in time, XL2 could stall this out even longer, but right now it's all about that stall. Speedily, though, is trying as hard as he can to get to that EMP once more, because if they're able to get to 80-85%, that EMP could be the end for second generation.
Could be. Unfortunately, though, Felty does take our favorite Mexican hacker out of the game, so second generation, against all odds, managing to survive against the DPS of XL2, just, walking onto the objective, using their bodies to force XL2 off of the point. However, that will still be 91% going to XL2 Academy, so not bad at all for that first hold. Now, the more difficult thing online for them is how to break through all of these tanks. Boger's going to have Shatter in just a second. Shadows has the EMP. All of XL2 Academy, they can play very split up, and they're going to want to do so they don't all get caught by Shadow's ult.
Speedily is going to go ahead and use that EMP. 4 members. EMP in response will get 4 members as well, so this is arguably pretty even. The purple ones on the second generation did not find the value that it really needed. Pulse Bomb is out, does not get the stick, does get a little bit of damage though. Yaki going to go ahead and rewind and go back onto the objective, receive the shielding from Jared, but Speedily did not. Speedily's going to have to find a different way of staying alive and getting to that EMP. The shields aren't going to be there, but they have already run out, and XL2 Academy used those overshields to their advantage. Second generation did lose out in the end.
Some really good tracer play from Yaki right there. While it's not crisp and clean like you might expect from tracers these days, he's doing his job, helping make those kills easier to come by for the rest of his teammates. And now it's just desperation for second gen to try and get any kind of kill going on. On the field. Jared getting targeted, but Kirby helps out his teammate.
Anytime you see a doofus, that means that team is in desperation mode. All XL2 need to do is get these cleanup kills, and everything will be theirs, at least for this round. XL2 Academy dominant pretty much against second generation. That 42% was concerning, though, right? The only time they weren't absolutely, in that advantageous state was when they came back with no ultimate second generation, were able to take the point.
And it was kind of just some, Reinhardt shenanigans, Boger walking forward, just looking for some hammer damage. You gotta try and find a way somehow. And it was really, just XL2 Academy maybe getting slightly too comfortable, not getting themselves out of the way of the tanks of second generation. But the past is the past. We're moving on to Village now, where that Goats composition can really shine, especially if you get that first point cap. However, second gen want to go for the DPS look once again. We've seen many teams, Mayhem Academy certainly comes to mind, who have wielded the Pharah on this map specifically to such great effect. So if you have a capable Pharah player like Sox on your team, you might as well give it this opening shot a go.
Let's see if Sox is going to be able to pull it out for second generation. The EMP barrage combo can be brutal. And look at Sox go, already close to 40%. So he's been hitting some directs there, but Boger going to be going it down. Akawa doing a little bit more on that Winston, getting closer to that Primal Rage, and he's still alive, so that's pretty good for him. XL2 Academy do have a 6v4 advantage right now, so this should be XL2 Academy's point, and now it's going to be much harder for this Pharah to do work as everyone can just stay in the objective now.
Exactly. Unfortunately, you lost your main tank right away, and then you actually lost, second gen also lost their Sombra to a Sombra v Sombra duel. So that's not the kind of value that you're hoping to get out of those DPS heroes. And in fact, second generation going to give that GOATS composition another go. Boger with this shield can provide so much good protection, but not to the backline.
Yeah, Shadow's already going down, and Yaki's going to get a follow-up kill, so another 6v4. This should be a reset for second generation. Now, XL2 Academy just looking for ult charge.
Exactly. Yaki here doing so much good work with this Sombra. Second gen, looking a little bit bamboozled and not finding the same kind of shielding that you would expect from those barriers, because XL2 Academy know exactly what second generation are bringing to the table. Their backline is going to be the weakest, especially since Yaki has already won that head-to-head duel against Shadows. He'll have all the confidence in the world to take that matchup again.
So Boger swinging nothing but air at that moment in time. X2 Academy know exactly how fast that Reinhardt's going to move. Shadow's going to go ahead and leave stealth and get the hack on to Kirby. This is an opening for them, and Boger going to go ahead and focus that down. Second generation now have that 6v5. EMP coming the other way, though. It's going to make things interesting for XL2, and with the Coalescence, there's no way to defend against whatever XL2 is doing because of that EMP. It doesn't matter who's playing it, right? Speedily or Yaki, the EMPs have been pretty good for XL2.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. XL2 seem to have that EMP timing down pat, and Haku with this Moira, Coalescence not as often thought of as a DPS ultimate these days, still able to do so much good damage.
And so the Primal Rage from Akawa is juggling second generation, who are not going to be able to get far from their spawn, but the rally is going to actually help them get there, and so now they're going to get closer to the objective. There's 94%. The Graviton Surge comes out pretty early. They want to win this fight because there is some mispositioning happening from XL2 right now. I think they expected the Primal Rage to do a little bit more for them, maybe even lock it up, but it's not locked up at all. Second generation actually have an advantageous fight on the objective right now. XL2 Academy not close to those ultimates either, so second generation are going to do what they needed at 99% to flip it for the first time, but they cannot lose another fight.
Yeah, that's what's going to be pretty difficult. At least they have both those support ultimates up ready to buffer them through these next couple of fights, but Yaki has been so on point with this Sombra play that it doesn't matter how many ultimates second generation have online. If Yaki gets a good EMP off, those supports are as good as dead.
Yeah, Yaki having a game so far today on control. Tracer on the last round, and now Shadow's going to leave stealth and not get the hack off. EMP is going to go through onto second generation, and the Zenyatta dies. That's what you see a lot of the time. XL2 Academy now do have that numbers advantage. They were able to pick off that Zenyatta, and now they're going to be able to pick off every other member of second generation. This Earth Shatter is nice from Boger, but it's too little, too late for him. XL2 Academy are primed to be taking this round.
And they will do so once they flip this and overtime burns down. I really like this initiative that we're seeing XL2 take. This is, distinct from how they had been playing their matches before, adding Speedily into their lineup. Not sure if he's necessarily the only catalyst to this change in playstyle, but I love the way that XL2 was like, hey, we know that second gen are going to be walking in here pretty slow. They got goats, right? Not a ton of mobility. Hit them with the EMP. EMP doesn't work. We'll hit them with the Coalescence. Hey, can we push some advantage? Akawa, go and try and Primal Rage them. See if you can find a pick. At least, throw them around, keep them from engaging in exactly the way that they want. And this is something that we hadn't really seen from XL2 in the past up until this point.
Yeah, and so what is kind of like the defining factor of that? You described a couple things there, but what's really like, if you were to be able to magnify one situation that kind of represented the example of this is what I want to see more of, what would that be from that last round?
Just more of that great Sombra play.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of teams, I think that Sky Fox's game in like the week 1 of NA Contenders this season
versus Atlanta
really comes to mind. Exactly, like 2 very experienced teams, and one of them just trying to play that good GOATS game. But that Sombra, anytime you get a good Sombra on the field, it is so hard for GOATS to function as they would expect, right? It's really on the GOATS team to try and keep the Sombra from getting value, and if you can do that, then the Sombra's nearly useless, because EMP again is not an ultimate that will win you the fight outright. But if that Sombra starts finding those little nooks and crannies, gets an early hack off, gets an early pick off, that will destroy the GOATS composition, and second gen just weren't really prepared.
So how do you prepare for that then? If you're going against that Sombra, and say you don't have a Sombra on your team, even though there was a Sombra v Sombra in that situation, I do believe one Sombra was performing a little bit better, but say, just like that first week, you don't have a Sombra, the other team does. How do you defend against that EMP?
I mean, there's a lot of options. I mean, EMP is not an ultimate that you can really easily defend against. Obviously, you can try and keep somebody in the back line, whether that's a diva or you're just fragging Zenyatta, who's dangerous enough that the Sombra's not going to get close. But you really just want to force her out of position, force her to use that translocate early before she can get that good EMP coverage. Notwithstanding like forcing the Sombra out of the fight, then you have to just be like, okay, if we do all get EMP'd, how are we going to react to this, right? Is it just going to be a junk push? Everybody just dies as quickly as possible, and then we go for the better later fight? Or do we try something else? Zarya, if you have a highly charged Zarya, she still does a ton of damage. Can we force, the enemy team to make a mistake by pressuring their Zarya, by pressuring their Reinhardt, right? Because any team that's running a Sombra is hoping to use the EMP to win the fight, just that one EMP, right? If you're forcing them to use more ultimates on top of that, you've already gained an advantage in a way. So that's kind of what we've seen so far, at least here in NA, that teams have been, that's kind of the playstyle that they've been using to adapt to that Sombra.
Cool. And so now that you're looking at these team comps, right, are you liking that second generation is showing Shadows on Sombra right now? After seeing GOATS, they might switch it out. Coming out of spawn, so Shadows would be the first one doing a little scouting. But Shadows played Sombra last time. Sox was on Pharah. This is something that they do run.
I mean, I would certainly try and give it another go. Because this is no longer control and it's a hybrid map, then the defensive spawns will be much farther away, so the attackers will have a little bit of an advantage there if they can just get a single pick. But as we might have expected, second generation going to be swapping onto the more reliable GOATS comp. This is actually quite a bit of pressure on the shoulders of BitBop, because XL2 are not running a Zenyatta, they're running Haku on the Ana. Bionade is extremely impactful, so BitBop's going to be looking to use the Matrix, save it for those occasions to eat up that nade.
Good stuff, Eclipse. Starting this off with a bang, getting a 65 for second generation. This is a really good opportunity for them. They cannot let XL2 Academy back onto this objective. They have isolated Kirby already, who's so close to getting demagged. Does not, though, so Kirby's going to get a second life here when they do re-engage, as the defensive spots comparatively to other hybrid maps can be very close, but you got to be on the point. You can't just give it up to them. And so now second generation has forced XL2 Academy to contest on the objective proper. There is no more wiggle room, and second generation will take advantage of that opportunity, because XL2 Academy didn't quite know or really seem to feel exactly how to do this once those couple ticks were already taken.
It is a very difficult thing to try and regain this point, but a nano onto Yaki is going to end up doing Bubkiss.
I'm sure Hockey's probably going to switch. Yeah.
Very possible. Ana can definitely enable your tank line to become even more aggressive and scary, but Transcendence in the face of Shadow's potential grab is going to be more valuable for XL2, so we will see that flex support swap here. And just wanted to point out that Yaki, even though XL2 was on their back feet, he got his grab so much faster than Shadows, who are actually still 8% away. So, XL2 is still doing quite well individually.
Yeah, second generation do have a better ultimate economy right now, but XL2 have what they need to defend against it outside of that Transcendence, but the sound barrier's there, and sometimes that isn't enough. There is no EMP on the other side, so you can use it when you need it. Sound barrier, they're going to come out for second generation to start things off, and XL2 already losing a Kawa, and so this is already a really good fight for second generation. There's that second member, and so this payload's going to continue here, and the defense not really showing up for XL2 Academy right now.
Not quite. They tried to see if they could get any kind of foothold in their defense with just the Shatter. They didn't want to invest anything more, because I'm sure XL2 recognized that second gen will have an ultimate advantage for quite some time longer, considering how solidly they won that first point. However, second gen did have to use that sound barrier in response to Akawa's Earth Shatter. So now as they face off on the high ground, it's probably going to be a battle of grabs and who pulls that trigger first.
And so XL2 Academy going to go ahead and seed that high ground. No use trying to defend it right now. Second generation has a better position for it. Transcendence now going to be countering that grab. Here are the bombs. One for second generation. A charge for XL2 Academy. So this is 5v5 and it's even because the Lucios are out of this game. But Jer dying with sound barrier. That is a mistake for XL2 Academy. If he was able to get that down, this would be an easier defense for them. But now that they're going to win it outright anyway, it's still going to be good for them on the next fight, but second generation, though, going to be coming back. I don't see how they overcome this numbers disadvantage, but XL2 Academy going to have a sound barrier now.
Yes, they will have a sound barrier. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. At least that's what I tell my ranked teammates. It's okay, I have Shatter this time. So XL2, they do come out of it with still a defensive ultimate in hand. That was a scrappy fight, though. Ended up like a 3v2 with a baby diva. And so second generation going to be looking for a little bit cleaner of a wipe here, but it's going to be hard going because Shadows is the closest one to an ultimate on this second gen's tank line.
Yeah, it's speedily going to be dropping that rally, and second generation will cede that space. There is enough time on the clock for them to just let the armor run out after the rally. It's pretty much a zoning ult in that kind of definition. Second generation now also have that Transcendence coming to grab too, so they have an opportunity to potentially take XL2 Academy down, but the Transcendence comes early, so Shadows will be able to use it without a Transcendence on the other side, just a sound barrier. We have seen sound barrier not as good as the Transcendence in that situation. Shadows, though, still holding on to his Graviton Surge. XL2 Academy now do have those 5 ultimates at their disposal, and now it's just a question of when they're going to use it. Second generation, though, getting taken pretty low. Bitbop almost got DNX in that situation. You don't want to use the self-destruct in that way. Felty going to go ahead and use that self-destruct, and now the Graviton was also eaten. XL2 Academy have the momentum right now. Second generation do not. There was no Transcendence on second generation, so whatever Graviton came through at that point in time was going to get those kills.
Yeah, the best that second gen could have hoped for in that case was an even trade, grab for grab, but they end up just losing that fight outright. And XL2 Academy is starting to find their mojo right here. They continue to hold this high ground, not going to be giving it up for free, although Bitbop gonna try.
Oh, I like the way that bomb looked. It was a good idea. Sometimes you got to make things happen. There wasn't a Graviton Surge. By the time Bitbop gets another bomb, that's when the bigger bang combo will come out. But second generation, with only a minute and 15 seconds left, don't really have a ton at their disposal. They will have a Transcendence. Bitbop might not have a mech here in just a second, as the armor pack was already invested into Bitbop, which means Boker's not going to be able to get it. He's going to die with Earth Shatter. And so XL2 Academy still functioning with all 6 members. Second generation are going to have to put all their eggs in one basket on this next fight.
I really like, again, the focus fire coming in from XL2 Academy. You see Akawa right there swinging at the corner and choosing, not to put his body or his shield on the line to try and hold a front that XL2 Academy didn't need to hold. They just allow second generation to walk forward. Everybody behind Akawa is already doing so much damage to those shields that Akawa was able to snipe Boker with a single well-placed fire strike. That is the kind of good play, the resource management that is giving XL2 this advantage right now.
Oh, Yaki gets displaced, so Yaki's on the low ground right now. That's why you're seeing XL2 seed that space, and they're fine with that because it's second generation that need to find the payload. So XL2 Academy definitely had an advantage here on the defensive side. The second generation are racing to those ultimates. Gravitons are just going to come out before second generation have one of their own. If they're able to get Shadows down, that'll be huge for them, and that they do. They do focus Shadows. There's no grab coming from second generation in this last fight, so everything is on Boger's Earth Shatter, which hits nothing, and so XL2 Academy will be getting this defense under their belt, and they'll know exactly what to beat on their attacking side, and they would love to go into halftime up 2-0.
Boger really trying his best to make something happen with a poor hand, going for the flanking shatter, but there were 6 pairs of eyes on the side of XL2 and only like 1 member alive from second gen. So everybody knew exactly where that Reinhardt was dropping from. Again, really good play from XL2. Seems like a whole different team in their approach to these fights. Obviously, second generation, not necessarily at the very top of the standings within North America West, but still, XL2 showing some good discipline, some really good, foundational positioning, not leaving their backline open or exposed, those kinds of things that can very often happen to any team when they start to feel more and more comfortable.
And something else that I want to give them props for is the fact that defense in general for the first 6 weeks has been hard to find, right? We have moments of good defense, but this week, even on Monday, we've seen some good defense from, XL2 today and almost every game last on Monday. So really good work getting those defenses up. I think a good defense means some maturity and growth in terms of how they're playing as a team, as well as their skills, right? You got to get back to those basics. You got to really know how to get these defenses going and how each character works against the opposing team to get that smooth and clean, and they're definitely on their way.
Yeah, the hardest part about defense is that there isn't really a finish line, right? As long as the attackers still have time, they could mount another offense. So how do you ration out those ultimates? XL2 themselves doing very well. They always had something in their back pocket. Now, XL2 has certainly watched some of these VODs. They're going to be expecting second gen to be pulling out the pharmacy defense. Not sure if they're going to be expecting BitBop's Torbjorn, but Yaki was already showing the McCree in spawn. But in fact, actually, he's going to swap to the Zarya. No, the Sombra, third time's the charm. XL2 Academy is going to leave with this composition. Really good adaptation once again. McCree is great against Pharahs in the air, but Sombra's can do just the same by hacking her, grounding her, and that Sombra hack works miracles against both the Orisa shield and the Torb turret.
The sight lane that you're seeing Sox with right now is so beautiful for Affairs. You can see the spawn, and you can see every which way that the offense can come in and adjust accordingly. Some good movement as well coming from Sox, second generation. Boger and BitBop haven't had to do anything, as XL2 Academy haven't really attempted to come into the point just yet. You're seeing those green bodies come in just now, so they seem to have a plan, and they're going to go ahead and use it to the best of their ability. Kirby distracting on one side, the rest of the team flanking from behind. It's up to the Pharah to really punish them for that kind of flank, because she has that top-down view. You can push some of XL2 Academy back to spawn if you're able to focus down someone, but it doesn't seem like second generation have that, kind of teamwork mentality right now to have made this work for this point.
Not just yet. They're playing extremely grouped, and that is not where a Sombra functions best. XL2 Academy, with their superior mobility and DPS, able to just run circles around the second-gen bunker setup, and you never really saw that Torb turret start working or that Orisa shield provide that same kind of protection that you see in many other bunker comps, because XL2 Academy, all they did, again, a very patient approach. We don't have to die before we absolutely have to die, guys. The dive comes in very clean, and second-gen, they never have the space for that re-engage.
And XL2 Academy going to go ahead and use the nano onto Akawa, who's going to get the extra damage. It's there. It doesn't matter if he is hacked because, or Haku is hacked because all of the cooldowns that they needed to use were already going. So second generation already at a disadvantage in that way. Shadow still has that EMP. Hold on to it. You don't want to use it in this situation, but I don't believe Shadows has gotten an EMP this game so far. So we're still waiting for that first one from Shadows to do something, and it needs to do everything that they, have dreamed of with this EMP, as XL2 have some good ultimates, but they are going to be switching some characters to reset those, but still with a Primal Rage and a Self-Destruct, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, Primal Rage into Self-Destruct, still underrated ultimate combo. Right, you drop the bomb in and then just throw everybody up into the air, but Boger, immediately takes a massive anti-nade, forced to Primal his way out.
Yeah, Shadow still has yet to use that EMP, waiting as Boger going to get that Primal Rage kill, going to throw those fists into Haku's face. Second generation have not needed this EMP just yet, as they do have a one-member advantage. Akawa cannot jump away because he is hacked and does get punished for it. 11-player kill streak is over for him. Second generation now do have the defense going. XL2 are going to reset.
Yeah, Coalescence there from Eclipse, just the extra keep away ultimate in case XL2 were getting any cheeky ideas about a quick re-engage. Really good stuff from second gen. They were able to hold things back. Boger, while he did kind of, throw himself in a pretty dangerous situation, it ended up forcing XL2's hand as well, and now Akawa going to swap onto the Reinhardt.
Three-man EMP, is it going to be enough? So far, no one on XL2 has been taken down, but yes, Akawa and Yaki do make the value out of the EMP happen by going down second generation. Good follow-up from them.
Exactly. Well, XL2 was probably expecting a pretty fast reset since they didn't really have any ultimates with those 2 tank swaps. Second generation, again, some good execution. The opportunity is there, the window's open, you just gotta walk through it, and sometimes that doesn't always happen. So, nice EMP from Shadows, but then that now means that option is no longer on the line for second gen. They have to be using this rally from Sox or the sound barrier from Felty to make up for some lost time, get up to those tank ultimates quickly.
Yeah, the EMP has been described as just a delay for that next fight, right? Second generation now using that sound barrier and rally. It's all that they have at their disposal. Eclipse needs to get to this Transcendence before he goes down, but Kirby going to get taken down from a self-destruct. The Transcendence would not have helped that, but it's a 5v5, no Lucios on each side. Eclipse is going to be able to get that Transcendence going in the nick of time, as Sox was already very low. EMP now going to go through onto XL2 Academy. 4 members are hacked, no kills just yet. Actually, there's going to be a kill on the other side, which is Sox. Haku unable to save his teammate with that Transcendence, and now it is going to be the Graviton Surge to finish this off for XL2 Academy. Just the way that works, right? We know GOATs. Everyone watching knows GOATs. We've seen it so long. This is the last day for GOATs in Contenders, by the way. Well, for this GOATs patch, we will be seeing it in the playoffs, I'm sure, but the way that went down, the Transcendence comes out, the Graviton on the other side comes online, you throw it out, you're going to win that fight 9 times out of 10.
Exactly. Boger was taken so low early in that fight that Eclipse was forced to trans just to save his life, which meant that, EMP would be free for XL2. There was a second when it was like, hey, second gen, they might be able to hold on just a little bit longer because Shadows earns that EMP, drops it immediately, shuts down Yaki's Grav charge. He was at like 90%, so close. Unfortunately, then Trans comes online for XL2. Now they control the tempo. They've surged forward with all of that 300 HPS. Grav is just, kind of an afterthought at that point, and second gen do give up Blizzard World.
Well, I'm glad to see XL2 playing with some confidence, and second generation having moments for themselves. Sox was doing well on that Pharah. It's just that team comp didn't seem to just mesh for them in that moment. Maybe in scrims or another time had worked wonderfully for them, and that's totally a possibility. But, with the Torb and the Orisa having not very high ult charges by the time that they did go down, that's bad news for them. And bad news for them as well is that they're down 0-2 against XL2 Academy in this playoff play-in game. Adjustments need to happen at halftime. Let's see if they do in 6 minutes.